Start shooting, start shooting, start shooting, start shooting. Are we ready to film, ready to film, ready to film, ready to film yet? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time for another Generation 1 Transformers review. And today we're going to take a look at another longtime favorite to Transformer fans. We're taking a look at the 1986 Autobot Data Courier, Blurr. Now, Blurr first appeared on the market in 1986. He would only be available in 1986, as in 1987, Blurr would be upgraded into being a Target Master. And we'll take a look at his Target Master version a little later, maybe next year. Of course, for those of you who remember back in 1986, Blurr famously appeared in the 1986 feature Transformers the Movie. In the animated film, he was voiced by actor John Moshida, who at the time held the Guinness World Record for being the fastest talker. He would later become more famous and being seen this time as the spokesperson for competing toy Micro Machines. In case any of you have wondered. Now, as a toy, Blurr here isn't too bad looking. It is a pretty good representation of how he appeared in the animated feature. To some degree, as you can imagine, the animation model is a little more cleaned up and likely based on slightly older designs from the drawing board. Let's bring him up close here and we'll take a look at some of Blurr's articulation. And he does have a little bit more than what was common of the Autobot car characters of his price range. The head can be adjusted to some degree, but it's more used for transforming him, so we won't force it. His arms do rotate at the shoulder. Looks like, can he do it? Can he do it? Yes, he can go all the way around. His legs don't really move much, but he does have, surprisingly enough, a joint at the knee. Listen to that ratcheting. You can go backwards and even, nope, doesn't go forward. Just goes back about 90 degrees like that. So we can say Blurr is skipping and prancing, or something to that effect. And there is some articulation in the ankles, but that's more used for transforming him than anything. Well, put the one out and maybe he's doing a dainty little back kick or something. Nah. That looks too stupid. Okay. Let's transform Blurr. And of course, to transform him, first put that foot back out so that we don't mess that up. And we take away his weapon. And of course the shield. But keep the shield nearby. We're going to need it. Alright. To start, we need to rotate his head down like that so that his face looks down at his chest. Then you'll take this back portion here and bring it up to rest comfortably over top of him. This takes a little bit of work here, folks. So please do bear with me on it. Maybe the head shrinks back a little. Either that or... there's the problem here, folks. Take a look at this. This bar here apparently does, that connects it, does like to shift out a bit. So keep an eye out for that on loose samples. You may have the bar come loose on you and thus prohibit transforming him. Well, let's see. Put the head back up, see if that'll lock in there just like that, and then bring the head down. Okay, that works better then. Do just like that a moment ago, not what I was trying to do earlier. And next, we'll go down here. We fold his feet in, like so. And we rotate him back. And bend him at the knee a bit slightly to tuck his legs underneath the back section. Get them in there nice and snug. Now his arms slide upward at the shoulder, like so, just like that. There we go. And then there's these little flaps hanging underneath the arms. You want to fold them out and then gently slide them in to cover the fists. Like that. And then for a final detail, you will get his shield and connect the part of the front of it to the front of the car. Do that very gently because those tabs are fragile. And then there you have Blurr's alternate mode, which is listed as a futuristic or Cybertronian car. From some angles, almost could resemble a hovercraft, save for this section down here. Blurr would be the first Autobot car to not include rubber tires, as he basically just has those little dinky wheels underneath, but he does have this section back here in the back. Now, basically, his chest is partially die-cast metal. There's some metal in here, especially around his ankles. So that's to let you know you have the 1986 version. As for rolling around, since he doesn't have much in the way of wheel clearance, he rolls okay. I mean, you got to put some real effort, but does do pretty good at those unintentional skid turns. So, if you got a decently long table, that might work. Won't dare do it on this short table here. Moving right along now, let's take a look at his accessories, and we will start with his gun. It's described in the instruction manual as an electro laser. It's not a bad gun, at least looking. It's got a nice little sight here at the top. I would suggest down here, this part here, would be his ammunition. And it does have a carry handle. Sort of slightly evokes the Colonial Marine pulse rifle from the Aliens movie. Not quite, but it's the thought that counts. And then we have the next piece, one that we have to really point out a lot of things to. This is his hood, or shield, since it doubles as a shield and in the robot mode, and is the front of the car in vehicle mode. The first thing to point out, regardless of what version of Blurr you have, the thing you definitely want to check out, folks, are these two tabs right up here. These tabs are prone to breakage because this is plastic, so always, always, always be careful with how you force in or take out this piece. I mean, this example here, while it's in decent shape, there are some signs of cracks in it. I don't know if you can see them very well on the camera or not, but there is some signs of cracking to it. Now, some of you are going to ask me, how do I tell the difference? Or why is there me mentioning a difference between the regular version, Blurr, and the Target Master version? I mean, the biggest you can tell is the color. There's an even bigger thing to pay attention to, and I will definitely cover that a lot when I do all the Target Masters at a special month next year. So that you got to look here on the back side, folks. You see, the Target Master versions of the 5 movie heroes, which are Blurr, Hot Rod, Cup, Cyclonus, and Scourge, when they were redone as Target Masters, their hands were drilled with bigger holes. So as you can see, there is a substantial difference on the posts on the back. We'll turn it here to the side, and you can definitely see that. The one here on the left, this is the regular Blurr, and then this one over here on my right, this is the Target Master Blurr. And you can see the posts are clearly different widths. So if you're looking for one specifically for your robot mode Blurr to hold, you need to specify which version of Blurr you're buying it for. Because if it's not the right one, the toy will not hold it. Now we'll take a look at Blurr's instruction manual. It's done up in the similar style that was being done in 1986. A silly looking picture of Blurr there on the front. He looks a little too happy to be in your hands. We get here to the parts list, and you will notice the instructions do not list the hood as a separate piece on here. That's kind of a shame. They really should have, even though it's removable and the toy in the package had it attached. They still should have mentioned that. Move right along there, and they tell you pull off hood, but they don't warn you that since the hood is made of plastic, excessive stress will break it. You also notice they don't tell you to shift the arms upward a bit. Or to shift them downward, depending on which mode you're switching him to. So the instructions show him like that, which matches. His little thruster pods are level with his head. And of course, here we get to the last page where we have the rub sign. As you can see, it's on his shield. Robot points. There were a lot of great offers for Transformer mail-aways, as you probably saw in the review of the promo poster last month. And of course, how to read the tech spec. I always find it funny that they always use Blue Streak's tech spec, even though that by this time Blue Streak was now out of print. Now, before we get to Blurr's tech spec, we got something real good to show you, folks. Let's blur back a little bit here. We have the box. And surprisingly enough, we have a very, very nice looking box for Blurr. I mean, this barely looks like it has seen any sort of action. There's no sign of a price sticker on it. So, like, this is a jewel, folks. This is a jewel right here. Go ahead and leave likes and thoughts on there. This is my brother's toy, so I'll make sure he gets the message. I'll tell you right now, he's not going to sell it. Now, one thing that's silly about it is that the box art shows the shield as mounted on his wrist, whereas the toy and the instruction manual, it is handheld. I mean, even up here on the little quickie instructions, you see, holds it in the hand, so no idea where they got the idea to do that. You get the same picture here on the sides of the box of the robot and car mode. Just like that, and of course they do it down here again on the bottom of the box. And lists what all it came with. One car, one laser, label sheet, instructions, and decoder. no hood. And then on the back, you have the famous 1986 mural, heavily promoting Metroplex and Trypticon. Always wanted to show off the big toys so that we would irritate the heck out of Mom and Dad, make them buy us these big toys. How many of you actually got them when you were kids growing up? That's what I thought. Alright, over here we got, as you can see, we got the barcode and we got the robot points here. It shows that Blurr was worth 2 points. Which meant with this, and that promo poster last month, you could get Reflector. I don't know if that's a good deal or not. Alright, moving right along, we get to the tech spec. It's done in red to show he's an Autobot and even says Autobot. And it has that same silly looking picture that's on the front of the box. It lists his name as Blurr and gives his function as data courier. So instead of being a message carrier, he is a data courier. Or you could think of him as the Autobot carrier pigeon. And his motto is, the faster it is, the better I like it. Blurr is the fastest Autobot on land. He's a close descendant to a thoroughbred Cybertronic racehorse and a superior messenger. Now, thoroughbred racehorse is a slight reference to the racehorses they use in the Kentucky Derby, among other things. It's an interesting little twerk that apparently, the way this reads, that Blurr was obviously conceived from a robot and a horse. Eck. He can quickly whisk information from one place to another. In robot mode, he carries an electro laser that reverses the polarity of an enemy robot's microcircuits and leaves them motionless. Range 10 miles. I assume that's for the range of his gun, not his personal range. Because if he can only go 10 miles in a spurt, he's not going to get far very fast. In vehicular mode, he can travel faster than the speed of sound, leaving a blurred image in his trail, which is something we all could remember from the Transformers the movie. Whenever he moved, he did seem to be leaving a blurred image. Unfortunately, the animation cost kept that from being seen in the cartoon series itself. Nice to see where the money went, folks. Now, let's take a look at Blurr's tech specs here and get a look at the robot himself. It lists his strength as 7, his intelligence is 8, his speed is 10, about what you would expect. His endurance is 6, his rank is 7, his courage is 8, his firepower is 7, but his skill is a dismal 5. So, being the only data courier in the Transformer line, and he's not that good at it. That's kind of, not good, folks. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Blurr? Blurr is an interesting character, and certainly a different addition to the Transformers world, whether it be in the animated features or just as the toy. The More Than Meets the Eye guides flesh out Blurr a little bit more by stating that he is a pacifist, and when you factor in that his gun does not kill, but rather paralyzes an opponent, that seems to back it up, especially as his function is a data courier. He's meant more just to transport information from one place to another. His speed, being at a perfect 10, means that he can outrun just about any other Transformer in existence. So that makes him excel. That would make him excel at his job. But when he's got a skill of 5, that leaves you to wonder just what in the world is he doing wrong. He's only breaking average with it. But if nothing else, he does show that there is occasionally a need for people like that are pacifists in the various militaries. G.I. Joe, Hasbro's other toy line at that time, famously had Doc and Lifeline, the medical officers for G.I. Joe, were both very well known for being pacifists, especially Lifeline, as it was mentioned at least twice in the animated cartoon. Now, while a lot of people would question it, and I know that there are a few that would, sometimes that's necessary. It gives a different perspective of things, but it doesn't mean that these people are totally helpless. They can be shown how to defend themselves and can choose to use the situation, use various things to their advantage rather than resorting to the common violent means. However, this image of Blurr would not really be shown in the Transformer cartoon, as it would mostly show him grabbing a gun and firing at will upon the other Decepticons, especially within a relatively early scene in the animated movie, with Blurr running between 3 different windows, firing his gun continuously. As a toy, Blurr's not bad. He's really more hampered by the design more than anything, as in 1986, to help avoid paying some of the licensing fees that they were having to pay out to Takara for the various cars they were making, Hasbro went the different route of making futuristic ones, or what they hoped would be futuristic by 2005 standards, for the Transformers. Since in real life we haven't designed anything that looks like this, they're often referred to as Cybertronian designs. And that kind of makes it worse, because we're not even sure if it looks that good in its natural form. Blurr tends to suffer a lot as a toy. I mean, the shield is the one thing. Another is the fact that the covers on the arms do tend to get loose relatively easily on many samples, so a lot of times you will find them drooping. This one, fortunately, doesn't have that as a problem, but it is another thing to keep an eye out on. I would put Blurr in the middle tier for the toys. He is a good addition, and he does have his fans, and I'm not going to knock them for liking this figure, but the toy design does suffer a little bit, and while he does get some points for having a unique function to bring to the table, his rather low skill score for it does hurt him on it in the long run, since if we can't depend on him to do it and there's nobody else to do the job, it kind of leaves you wondering, should you really give this guy the Death Star plans, or should we go look for R2-D2? And that concludes Sparkster 1701's review of me, the Generation 1 Autobot Data Carrier Blurr. If you like the video, thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video. Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is Blurr standing in for Sparkster 1701, saying he will catch you all later. Bye-bye for now.